Welcome everybody to this edition of Attention Talk Video. I'm your host, ADHD and Attention Coach, 𝐓𝐘𝐒. Today I'm here to talk about executive functioning, specifically emotional self-regulation. Before we get into the content of the show, I want to make you aware of children and adults with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, better known as CHAD. They provide evidence-based and evidence-informed information on their website at 𝐂𝐎𝐏𝐿.org. Also, we want to make you aware of our sister station, Attention Talk Radio, which can be found at AttentionTalkVideo.com. Okay, executive functioning. There's lots of components of it, and one of them is emotional self-regulation. What makes humans unique among other animals is that we actually have the ability to change our emotion. It's hard, but it can be done. And while emotions are not a part of the ADHD diagnostic criteria right now, I'm confident they will come back. You say come back? Well, yeah, emotions used to be part of the diagnosis before 1970. They were removed. We're not exactly sure why. The hypothesis is emotions are hard to measure. But most of the foremost thought leaders in the world that I've talked to all agree that emotions are part of executive functioning, and ADHD is an issue of executive functioning. So today I'm here to talk about, when I'm coaching people who struggle mostly with emotional self-regulation, it is a more difficult part to do. And there's all kinds of techniques to do this, but sometimes, and I was coaching somebody the other day and had a little bit of success. They had met an individual and went out with them, and things didn't necessarily go so good. They weren't horrible, but they didn't click. And now this person had their hopes up. And as a result of it, they felt a little bit rejected and had some emotions around that and kind of catastrophized. And in our conversation, we were like, okay, you don't have to click. You can have different styles. There can be all kinds of differences why you might not really kind of come together. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're rejected. It just means it just didn't click. That does not mean that you can't be disappointed. There's nothing wrong with being disappointed when you had your hopes up. And in the coaching session, I was working with the individual is that, you can change your emotions. You can let go of the rejection emotion and actually embrace well, I'm a disappointed emotion. Again, it's an emotion, but you're shifting that emotion as a means to manage it more intentionally. The more rejection type reaction that you might get without thinking through, well, maybe there's a legitimate reason, like they were getting ready to move, or they had another friend that were really close with. There's all kind of reasons for that. Is you actually shift it consciously to another emotion that is more benign in order to work your way through that. I'm introducing this concept. I've played around with it for the last couple of years and have had some success for those who could catch it. But I wanted to share this with you because sometimes these concepts, they work for a lot of you, and other times you might be a handful of you out there who really get this. So the idea is to be able to be aware that when you're in an emotional state, if you can identify it, you can actually change your attention or shift it by focusing on another emotion that might be similar or actually different. Sometimes I think it's difficult to go from one where you're feeling kind of blue and down to one being excited. But you can shift to one that's a little bit different. I've done a video about post-trip blues, citing my experience as an athlete when I would get done coming home from U.S. Nationals or NCAAs or World Game Trials. And there was this sadness that came over me. It was an emotion. I was somewhat depressed, but I would begin to shift that emotion by realizing that's just a part of how I feel when that's over with. It's the recovery part, and I would accept it. And effectively, it didn't feel great, but I changed and reframed that emotion a little bit, and I was able to manage it. Anyway, I'm sharing this insight with you to help some of you think out there. Again, not everybody will love this particular video, but for those that it speaks to, I really hope it helps. If you're new to our channel, please subscribe to our channel. We release a tip each week, and comments, thoughts. What do you think about the notion of identifying your emotion and maybe shifting it to another emotion that's a little bit more positive or more productive for you? With that, we hope you've enjoyed this edition of Attention Talk Video. Take care.